Hi, this is Dave Harrison. On behalf of myself and the producers of this tape, the employees, the men and women of the Chicago Transit Authority, and citizens of the entire Chicago region, we hope you enjoyed your stay. So sit back, kick back, relax, and enjoy a ride on the wild side. Wait a minute. We've got to change the mood a little bit. Let's make an attitude adjustment. There, that's better.
The Chicago Bulls have made it 3 straight NBA championships.
The Bulls win the championship!
Gordon and the Chicago Bulls have climbed the Mount Olympus of the NBA.
What? Do you believe this? Do you believe this?
Mention Chicago to most people and a picture of Buckingham Fountain pops in their mind, together with Al Pegg and all the other members of that Married With family. But Chicago has more than just Al and Peg and the children. Our city is a natural destination for vacationer and business traveler alike. 9 of our most famous museums are located within our beautiful park system. The Chicago Academy of Sciences, the Field Museum, the Mexican Fine Arts Center, Adler Planetarium, the Chicago Historical Society, the Art Institute, Shedd Aquarium, the DuSable Museum of African American History, and the great granddaddy museum of all, the Museum of Science and Industry. Our centrally located city is blessed with resources, both natural and man-made. And to students of architecture, the man-made includes a living museum of significant and historic buildings, including skyscrapers topped by 3 100-story buildings. Most famous among our natural features, of course, is the lakefront, where Lake Michigan and our city meet. Miles of beaches and parks make this a fun place to be. From the Science and Industry Museum in Jackson Park to Navy Pier to Lincoln Park Zoo and back again to the museum campus in Grant Park. The lakefront is home to the Air and Water Show, Blues Fest, Gospel Fest, Jazz Fest, and the Granddaddy Taste of Chicago Fest, with food from every imaginable cuisine. And if Chicago is fun, Chicago means food. Chicago-style hot dog, Chicago-style deep dish pizza, and don't forget a Maxwell Street Polish sausage. Of course, if you want to shop till you drop, there's our new State Street, North Michigan Boulevard for those of you more opulently minded. Sports teams, we've got them. The Bears, the Sox, the Blackhawks, the Cubs, but nobody beats those Bulls, especially when it comes to putting championship rings on their fingers. 3 times, no, 4 times, no, shall we say 5 times, world champions. And above it all, the Sears Tower, the tallest building, shall we say, in the universe. The Sears Tower with the tallest occupied floor. Now, I don't understand. If they can count ornamental spires, why can't they count the antennas at the top of the 110-story Sears Tower? Now here's a little-known historical fact. Did you know Chicago's first permanent non-Indian settler was a black man, Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, who built a cabin along the banks of the Chicago River, who traded with the Indians from the late 1770s up until 1800, when he sold his cabin to another historical figure, John Kinsey. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, first settler and founder of Chicago. Did you know? My, hasn't Du Sable's riverbank changed? Now, I know I don't have to tell you that Chicago is the blues capital of the world, but we still have more than just Al and Peg. In the 1980s, Trains magazine came to Chicago to declare it the railroad capital of the world. Trains magazine returned in the 1990s to declare Chicago still the railroad capital of the world. 7 megasystems were all represented. Now, yes, Chicago is third in population behind New York and Los Angeles, and we're third in rapid transit behind New York and Washington, D.C.'s metro. But we've got what no one else has got: Buckingham Fountain and the Loop L structure downtown. Did you know? Of four major cities with downtown elevateds, only Chicago's 100-year-old Loop L remains in operation. Even the downtown area is called the Loop, although that nickname might be traced back to the cable car era. Today's Chicago transit system serves most of the city proper and 9 suburbs. Only the far southeast, the far south, and a portion of the northwest sides are not served by rapid transit. Zooming in on a modern-day map, we first examine the Yellow Line, the point-to-point Skokie-Swift operation from Dempster Street to Howard Street. Then it's up to Linden Avenue in Wilmette, south through Evanston, and south through the north side. On the north side, Maine, the Purple Line, the Evanston Express, all the way to the Chicago Loop. Also serving the near northwest side is the Brown Line, the Ravenswood Line, which also serves the Loop using the north side, Maine. Going south, we pick up the Orange Line, the Midway Line, the city's newest transit service to the southwest. On the west side, the two major branches of the Blue Line, the Congress and the Douglas Park. They meet, go downtown through the Dearborn-Milwaukee subway and out the Kennedy Expressway all the way to O'Hare Field. The Blue Line and the Orange Line together constitute the airport-to-airport service. And here, beginning at Harlem and Lake and Oak Park, the Green Line, going all the way through the Loop, around the Loop L, and all the way south to 59th Street where the Inglewood-Jackson Park branches split. And starting at 95th Street and State Street is the Red Line, the Howard Dan Ryan Line, the city's main line, going through the downtown in the State Street subway and then all the way up the north side Main to Howard Street, Chicago's L subway system. Did you know? No matter if the train is on the elevated, in the subway, in the median, or on the surface, Chicagoans still call it the L. So as you can see, elevated, subway, median, surface. Chicagoans still call it the L. You'll hear phrases like, take the Howard Street L, change L's at Belmont, ride the O'Hare L downtown, the L over 63rd Street. Chicagoans still call it the L. L History 101. No, let's make this a graduate course. Ah, much better. Just kidding. In 1892, the first Chicago L began operation above the alley, just east of State Street, from Congress south to 39th Street. It was nicknamed the Alley L. The following year, 1893, service was extended all the way south to 63rd Street and then east over the street to Jackson Park, site of the Columbian Exposition, the World's Fair of 1893. And here's the South Side L and its connection to the Loop from high atop the Sears Tower, sort of an eagle's eye view. And this would be a pigeon's eye view. The Harrison Street curves, where the Alley L accessed the Loop L structure. In 1907, a third track was added to the south side for express service between Roosevelt, shown here, and 43rd Street. Also in that same year, the Englewood, the Normal Park, the Stockyards, and the Kenwood branches were added. At 59th Street Junction, the Englewood splits from the Jackson Park. The Jackson Park features over-the-street running, a rarity in Chicago. In 1893, the second elevated opened for business. It was built entirely over the street, Lake Street, from Market Street west to California Avenue. In the following year, 1894, service was extended all the way to Laramie Avenue. Both of these elevateds were steam-powered. And here we see, stripped clean during the Green Line rehab, the Lake Street elevated. Certainly, this is a unique perspective. Back in action as the Green Line. The city's third elevated was the Metropolitan West Side, which opened for operation with electric propulsion. Motor cars pulled trains of trailers. The Met had 4 branches, the Douglas Park, the Garfield Park, the Humboldt Park, and the Logan Square. which all met at Marshfield Junction, where a 4-track main line took the routes downtown. Near Racine, the 4-track split, allowing for space for this huge powerhouse and the line's shop buildings in between. On this map, the Douglas Park and Garfield are on the left, the Humboldt and Logan Square are on the right, and the 4 main tracks are at the bottom. Most of the Garfield Park was removed when the Eisenhower Expressway was constructed in the 1950s. The Dearborn-Milwaukee subway gave the Logan Square route a shortcut to the loop. Today's Blue Line uses any Metropolitan L structure still left. This scene on the Logan Square along Milwaukee Avenue. The Douglas Park near Ogden Avenue on the west side. The fourth L Company opened for business in 1900. The Northwestern elevated with a 4-track mainland from Wilson Avenue south to Chicago Avenue, and then a 2-track line over the street to the loop. Today, the North Side Main is used by the Red Line, the Brown Line, and the Purple Line. And that express local running New York style can only be had on the North Side Main. The fifth L Company owned no rolling stock whatsoever, but more importantly, however, the Union Loop Company owned the Loop L structure downtown. The Loop L was built to solve a passenger distribution problem in the downtown area. The independent companies had operated into stub-in terminals. The Loop gave the companies access to a 5-block by 7-block area, but the companies had merely traded distribution for congestion problems. And the congestion problems would grow worse as more and more routes were added. Relief would not come until the subway was built and opened in 1943. The city of Chicago produced this film about the building of the State Street and Dearborn-Milwaukee subways.
Route number 1, connecting with the South Side L near 14th Street, extends north in State Street, west in Division, and then in Clybourne to meet the North Side L near North Avenue.
Chicago was a latecomer in building
north
subways.
In Dearborn Street from Van Buren, west in Blake Street, and then in Milwaukee Avenue to connect with the Logan Humboldt L near Paulina.
This subway construction was a Depression-era work project.
Open-cut excavation in Milwaukee Avenue without interruption.
Although 2 subways were started simultaneously, one was suspended due to wartime shortages.
Shows us how an expert does it in doing their shopping on the ground above, are virtually unaware that history is in the making beneath their feet by men who work with skill and speed. Countless rows of heavy steel reinforcing rods form a continuous network over which the concrete is poured for the walls and arch. Experts give it the finishing touches by hand, and this part
The
of
opening
job
day
is
was
nearly done.
October
Pouring the
1943.
concrete for the arch is more dramatic. It's a tough job. The workmen inside the form dodge the concrete as it comes from the blower pipe. with a reverberating roar. Don't mistake these construction cars and tracks for the real thing. A modern roadbed and cars and automatic block signals make subway riding more comfortable and safer than driving your own car. A mezzanine-type subway station has
A special ceremonial train was provided, and all the dignitaries were there for the honorary ribbon cutting, the opening of Chicago's first subway in 1943. The new subway would carry the North-South Main Line, the Howard Jackson Park, and the Ravenswood-Inglewood Normal Park. All the steel cars were pressed into this service on this route. The 4000 series steel cars were replaced in the 1950s by the 6000 series St. Louis cars. Today, the State Street Subway carries the Red Line, but for 50 years, the trains of the North-South plied this incline south of 13th Street. And for the same 50 years, a connection just south of the Roosevelt platform had been unused. Now this connection is the connector to the Dan Ryan Red Line. Did you know? Why are most L structures in Chicago on private right-of-ways and along alleys instead of over the streets like in the eastern cities? Well, there's a state law that says the L companies must have the okay of 50% of the property owners in order to use the streets. And, except in the downtown areas, it was usually cheaper to buy the land in the back of the properties than to bribe the owners for permission to use the streets. The Lake Street L, of course, is one exception. The politically connected company didn't need approval, if you know what I mean. Today's modern L subway. The rolling stock of today's L subway system is completely high performance with a 70-mile-per-hour capability. And the entire fleet is air conditioned. Cars are identified by number system and builder. The 2200 series Bud cars are the oldest high-performance cars. They are the last to have the so-called blinker doors. They led the way to the use of stainless steel in Chicago. The next series were the 2400 series Boeing cars. They came with sliding doors to provide for handicapped passengers. 2600 series Bud cars made up the 600 car order, the largest car order ever for the CTA. The Morris-Knudsen 3200 series cars are the newest cars. They came with a full-width cab for one-person operation. A special group of 3200 series cars are equipped with pantographs for operation on the yellow line. Up until 1997, there was a large group of non-high performance cars, the 5 to 50 double-engine cars. These PCC-type cars date back to the late 1950s. They were rehabbed in the 1980s but were unneeded due to ridership declines and therefore spent most of their time living out the guaranteed years of their usefulness following the rehab. For whom the bell tolls. Except for the stand-in historical cars, 1892 and 1992, the original high-performance design, the 2000 series Pullman cars, are all retired. When they were new in 1964, these were the first air-conditioned transit cars. From the 1950s on, these cars defined the Chicago era. They were called the 6000s. There were 720 of them in all. They pioneered a whole list of innovations in their day, including 8 experimental cars that could do 75 miles per hour. The last 520 were manufactured using retired streetcar components. You might want to cover your ears as we demonstrate why all CTAL equipment is limited to 48 feet in length. It's because they must negotiate curves as little as 90 feet in radius. No matter how far away Chicagoans move from the city, they will never forget the squeal of the L on tight curves. Out with the old and in with the new. The traditional crew of a motorman up front and a conductor 3 cars in back is becoming history. The CTA is rapidly converting its 2-man operation into 1-man operation. The Morris-Knudsen 3200 series cars brought 1-man operation to the Orange Line and Brown Line. Older equipment is now being renovated for 1-person operation. All of the L system is protected by signals, either wayside signals or cab signals. Wayside signals are mounted trackside with a mechanical trip device next to the running rails. Where the tracks cross each other or diverge, there are wayside interlocking signals. The older parts of the subway all use wayside signals. Cab signals are completely electronic. The signal display is in the motorman's cab. An audible beep can be heard indicating a change in position. Here's a glitch on the renovated system in the Green Line operation, bringing our train to a halt. As you can see, there's a clear track ahead. So this was a glitch. The third rail. Mention the third rail, causes many hearts to beat faster? Is it the 600 volts or the fact that Chicago's L, the third rail, is uncovered? Employees and trespassers alike know to leave it alone. Two of the three approaches to the Loop L structure are over movable bridges, including the L structure and the street below. This is the Wells Street Bridge. And there is the Lake Street Bridge. And to show you how it's done, here's the Wells Street Bridge in operation. Before the city bridge tenders can raise the bridge, they must get permission from the L Tower 18. When the signals are set at red, the track interlocks all set, then the Tower 18 operator punches the right keys and buttons, giving permission for the bridge tenders to raise the bridges. You can even hear the electric motors whining. The busiest season, of course, is in the spring and fall when the summer boat fleets are either going out to Lake Michigan or coming back for safe haven for the winter. And of course, what goes up must come down. And now all that's needed are a few volunteers to ride the first train across. And in answer to inquiring minds, yes, trains can go both directions across the bridge at the same time. They say it's unusual for a rapid transit operation, but the CTA's L system has over 25 grade crossings. This is Cicero Avenue on the Blue Line, Douglas Park branch. Normally, the trains do not blow for crossings, but a camcorder operator makes the motorman a little nervous. Portions of the Brown Line, the Ravens would also operate on the surface. On the yellow line, they do blow for the crossings. Never let it be said that the CTA did not know how to throw a party. The occasion was the 100th anniversary of the Southside L in 1992. It featured champagne bubbly and a cake done up in the style of the 1892 L. And a featured guest was the newly christened historical cars, the former Pullman 2000s, car number 1892 and 1992. And the festivities took place at the completely restored Quincy Street station at Quincy and Wells. In 1997, the CTA celebrated 90 years of Ravenswood L service. There's even a rubber-tired L train, antique buses, music. The CTA's own gospel choir. Singing the accolades of the CTA's Brown Line. And of course, the cake by Sarah Lee was brown. Guest of honor were the Heritage cars, 42, 71, and 72. On display simply for a walkthrough, it's planned for the October 97 100-year anniversary of the Loop to have these antique cars carrying passengers. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Heritage cars, a product of the Cincinnati Car Company, 1922 through 1924. What a contrast. Back in the 1980s, we were trackside on the Loop L structure when 42, 72, and 71 last carried passengers. The event was Transit Appreciation Day. Free rides were offered to the public. Boarding was at the restored Quincy and Wells station. Air brakes and conductor in between the cars like days of old.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you on board CTA's Antique Train. We're going to tell you a little bit about why the train is running and something about the train itself. Today is the first CTA Employee Appreciation Day. This is our museum train. We want to make it something a little more than a bit. And Chicago is the only downtown in the world that's named after its transportation system. We call it the Loop. At one time, the tracks are crossing over right now for the busiest railroad junction in the world, with over 2,000 trains a day passing. This record was unequal until the subways were built in the 1940s.
Yeah. Then by the time we started, 4,000 were on the north-south, but they were on Evans Street, of course. No. They were right. West side. Right. We didn't get them until 57. That's right, 57. Yeah, because we went over and got permission. Okay, how you doing? And they went and got them Lake Street in 1957.
That's the controller handle on the left and brake handle on the right. Air brakes. A few scenes of the antique heritage cars as their display at Damon Avenue and the Ravenswood celebration ended. We certainly look forward to seeing them again on the 100th anniversary of the Loop L. With so much media in operation in Chicago, it's easy to chase trains. Let's take an intermission here. our summary of the present L routes. The yellow route, the Skokie line, from Howard Street, shown here, to Dempster Terminal in Skokie. The line changes from third rail operation to pantograph on the fly. The Evanston line, the purple route, between the Loop L and Linden Avenue, Wilmette. The North Shore trains once plied this route. And on the north side, Maine, the Evanston runs express between Belmont and Howard Street on the outside tracks. The Brown line, the Ravenswood route, operates between the terminal at Kimball and Lawrence and the Loop L. The city's newest line, the Orange Line, the Midway route, between Midway Terminal and the Loop L structure. The Blue Line, the O'Hare Congress and the O'Hare Douglas Park, between O'Hare Airport and Forest Park on the Congress, 54th and Cermak on the Douglas Park. Green Line, a $400 million rehabilitation. Will it ever go there? The Green Line from East Cottage Grove, Ashland and 63rd, through the Loop, and west to Harlem Avenue, Oak Park. The Main Line in Chicago, the Red Line, the Howard Dan Ryan, through State Street Subway. The world's longest subway platform actually encompasses 3 regular stations and an extra station at Lake Transfer. The Red Line from Howard Street on the north through the subway, south to 95th and the Dan Ryan. And we promised you it's time to take that ride on the wild side. Our first ride will be the Green Line from East Cottage